Yeah. And welcome to Beyond the Pendulum. That last cutscene was paranormal scene from another show. On accident, my buddy had a poltergeist situation in his house and accidentally recorded an orb flying through his house with the little kid in the background, or his little kid. Hold on, let me see if I can get this thing running. This is a live show, so I do make mistakes. So, are we live? There we go. One viewer. Anyway, so yeah, I wanted to address, President Trump's. President Trump didn't even say anything. It was his White House press executive, press secretary said, that the FAA was running some covert experiment on the West Coast. Well, me and Reddit and the UFO Twitter UFO community know that story is absolute poppycock. It's bullshit. The FAA was not running so-called covert experiments. We know that because a lot of what was being seen out there was anomalous behavior, and I was saying it before, is that there are videos out there if you dig. I was asking around for fishermen. There were videos of these things flying in and out of the water from fishermen. Really? Fishermen, and they were saying that the FAA also said at that time they didn't know what it was. They also had an FBI background, the FBI investigation, saying that they didn't know what it was. Everybody's pointing fingers. They still are saying that now. They are saying that there are no drones over New Jersey or the West Coast. Dude, the New Jersey mayor, or the mayor of the governor of New Jersey, just said, today on the news, that drones are still flying over his house. One day after the FDA said there's nothing going on. So you're getting lied to, by the deep state. Trump is another rollover. I don't know.
He's supposed to be releasing JFK files finally.
We'll see. We will see.
He promised that last time.
Mike
But he
Pompeo.
actually signed an EO on this one.
Well, Mike Pompeo didn't want him releasing something in there, so that's saying something. The ex-CIA director.
Yeah, well, there's that protection of the. I think it's just about everybody that's involved has any involvement with that is dead now.
That Mike Pompeo was saying no, that there are people that are
Still alive. Yeah, well, that's too bad.
What?
Why should I want to get lied to?
Exactly, and especially when you're working with one of the family members very closely, who needs all the information. I mean, this means more to this guy than anything in this whole world. His dad was freaking killed, and he doesn't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, and even he can't seem to get to the bottom of it. I mean, he's probably got a pretty good idea, but
I mean, his brother was killed over the same thing, and he had another brother, that went on a drug spree and OD'd. You remember that?
oh, not really.
Yeah. There was another brother that was out there that wasn't into politics. Decided to party, and he OD'd. He OD'd out here.
Oh man.
Oh no, wait.
Well,
Oh no, wait. Was it him? Was it him? or is it, or
It,
was it?
he,
I think it was his son.
he crashed in the Virgin Islands. Remember,
Yeah.
that was
No,
JFK Jr. or the third.
no, I'm thinking of RFK's son or some shit like that. One of them, they yeah OD'd or something in Santa Monica in a hotel. So
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, every family with money's got multiple stories like that. It's just it's too easy.
well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I really wasn't. It really wasn't like too surprising to me that Trump wasn't going to say. Actually, Trump didn't say anything. He has plausible deniability. It was the press secretary who had announced what it was going on, and I believe. Okay, there are more sightings now than there was back then. Every night, I get updates from Jersey, in the same area, from somebody who lives there, and they're out there every freaking night. Now they're over Ohio and, everywhere. So, you know, anyway. Jason
Hey,
Sands.
is there a possibility? I mean, I don't. I want to know how many of these drones are getting sold because I know a guy he's got a drone that'll fly like 50 kilometers or some shit now. I mean, it's a multi-thousand-dollar drone, but I mean, these things are big, man. They go a long way. It's just it's hard to believe, but I mean, there's some commercially available stuff out there.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
Maybe that's what it is. Are there that many people that have them and they're just flying around and maybe that's the answer.
Um, well, I do know how to get around the software shit, that they have, a lot of these, ones that are up there.
Oh, the
With
geofencing part of it.
yeah, there are ways around it. Yeah, people have already figured it out. So you mean you really don't need an FAA license really to get one of those things up in the air. They just do
No.
that. I mean, come on, you can build this shit from off the wall parts. But for every 10 of these known drones that are up there, we have a couple that are anomalous, and that's the ones that we're talking about. They keep there's a plausible deniability, when they're calling everything up their drones. But we're not talking about drones. There are anomalous objects up there that have been caught on camera that are doing going in and out of the water off of the Jersey Shore and going back into the ocean. So I don't know. And this has been going on repeatedly for decades. This is not a new thing. I mean, normally the behavior is to go over military installations and then go back wherever the fuck they came from, usually in the ocean, wherever the fuck they disappeared to. But, when these drones, even when they get flagged at, they go dark. The governor of New Jersey was also saying that these things are morphing from balls of light into objects, which is not well known out of the UFO community. But I haven't heard that said in a long time. But back in the 90s, you remember when the black helicopters were going around? The stories about the black helicopters that made no sounds.
Yeah, now that was kind of tied in with what am I thinking? Well, they were doing these Jade Helm type operations with these black helicopters in the cities. That was like one side of it. It was a dual psyop. At the same time you were seeing you see the black helicopters for like the crash retrievals or the black helicopters.
Yeah.
It's a similar theme, that keeps coming around. It's
Well, there was a string in the 90s when people were seeing the atypical TR3B or the triangle UFO that's not commonly seen anymore. But there was a string of plasmoid objects in the sky that were morphing into other things. And I've heard that story quite a dozen times, more than a dozen times, but it's been a long time since I heard it. But when I heard the governor of New Jersey say that, I was like kind of blown away because that's not even well known about even in the UFO community. Polymorphous ships or plasmoids, whatever the hell they are, and that's bizarre. Could he be could they be misidentifying it? Yeah, but I don't know. You know what I mean. If you're gonna put on your skeptic hat in this field, you're not gonna get very far. You're just gonna talk yourself out of everything. When you're just gonna look over the there.
Well, there's too many facets. The diversity of stories
Yeah.
that you hear. It's just the range of it is incredible. It just yeah, you hear similar patterns, similar stories, but at the same time, it's like it's just weird. The range of stories that you hear. Just
Did you see?
now
Did you
these
see?
drones. It's like I'm still thinking these drones is like something to throw us off from the whole disclosure.
Could
It's
be.
a red herring.
Did you see the UFO footage of the crash retrieval?
No.
Okay, we had a new whistleblower, Blake something. Oh God, I don't remember his last name. I'm sorry, guys. I'm bad with names. Blake was a helicopter pilot, USAF. I guess worked in intelligence undercover, and now we had a video of a crash retrieval of an egg-shaped craft. People thought it was bullshit. Unfortunately, the people that thought it was BS and it was fake, I'm like, well, what do you want it to do? Do you want it to light up and fly around? I mean, it's a crash retrieval of an egg-shaped object. That's exactly, they said for like weeks that they're going to show a video of an egg-shaped object of a crash retrieval, and that's what we saw. And people said it was bogus and it was fake. I'm like, they did forensic acoustic analysis on the rotor blades, and it was definitely some military grade, helicopter that was in the background. It was hard to fake, so I'm calling not bullshit on it because the video is so plausible that deniable because you're looking at, they could say it's a movie prop, for what all we know that they're picking up. But this week or last week, we also had two more whistleblowers with videos come out on anomalous objects. One was in Indonesia in 2000 from a crash retrieval video of a saucer. Then we had another one. I don't know. People were starting to not believe that one. There was another egg-shaped object with video and close-up pictures from Antarctica from a supposed recovery. People are not believing that one. I'm starting to willy-nilly, but I think the one from Indonesia was real. I mean, the one from Antarctica was showing inscriptions written on the craft, and they were coincidentally written in Egyptian numbers. Somebody had spotted that out with AI, and what the only thing about that doesn't say this is not too weird is the Holloman landing incident with when they met with Eisenhower. I'm not sure if many people are familiar with them, but these guys, they said, were dressed like they were from ancient Egypt, with headdresses and everything. Although their pupil, yeah. I mean, that's just one weird thing that you just can't make up. This happened during the 70s, so like some people dressed like they're from ancient Egypt come out of a UFO landing at Holloman Air Force Base to talk to the president about some shit, which we do have video of.
Oh
It,
man, yeah, that's just I never seen like who came out like the rough view of the craft and everything, like coming down
oh
the
yeah,
runway or something. I mean,
I actually got the other part of the story.
but
There's
like nobody,
yeah, the
like
other
people
part.
coming out or anything. I never saw that
Yeah,
part.
the I got the other part of the story from some other people that have that they had questioned, and they never revealed this until like years later that there was a full 90 seconds of the landing from multiple angles, and the door just appeared out of the ship out of nowhere, saucer shaped ship, and they got out and got into a jeep and drove off somewhere. Yeah, but we only got.
No, it's God. It's just it seems so hard to do. You know, it's like so our atmosphere and their atmosphere mixing, or I mean, I guess if they have the abilities they have, that wouldn't be too big a
What they're
stretch.
also the weird thing is they had a device that kind of like an iPod that translated their language into ours, and their eyes, their pupils were not like ours. They were like cat eyes.
You know,
Crazy, huh?
yeah, it's I wonder about stuff like that. But what I don't know. I've never seen. If you have a clip of the video, you know, you got to send me a link because I've never seen a really good
Oh, it's
a good
you only get a 5 seconds of it. The rest of it was cut out by the CIA.
no.
The CIA wanted to include it into this UFO disclosure thing, and the people upstairs didn't. The CIA had funded this documentary, and we're gonna show a real thing, and they only showed 5 seconds of a real UFO landing where Eisenhower had met the people, the aliens, to discuss some stuff.
I was just
But
say, you know, the not well that's a lot better story. You know, the other Egyptian story is like the art Egyptian artifacts that they found, like say in the Grand Canyon area. Um, Now that's not really tied to UFOs, but it's you know,
I actually
ancient,
half believe
you know,
that, only because that's not the only time I've heard of ancient Egyptian artifacts that have nowhere nothing to do with that. But you have to really dig hard for these kind of artifacts. You know, for all we know, somebody could have, at some point, some,
oh,
trader,
placed them
yeah,
there, and
yeah,
you
just
know,
placed them there. Yeah.
but I think it jives with the Indian stories of their creator myths and
Well, they also had
what was it, Esau? I mean, you know, it's
the ancient Hopi, or the ancient they have ancient Hopi and Navajo stories of what they call the Moon-eyed people, or the white people. They were called Moonskin people, I believe, and not when the Indians in their modern days, but in the ancient days would talk about these white tribes that were there, living like they were living, and they were not European. So I'm wondering if they were, related to any of this kind of stuff that they were talking about before. I really, I don't know. The ancient Egyptian thing is not too far off, but you know what? It doesn't surprise me. Jake, the recovery specialist, also said that this is, I have heard from Michael Herrera, the whistleblower from the Indonesian accidental run in with a Black Ops thing where they were trying to put a UFO into a fucking pickup truck and drive off with it. Michael Herrera was contacted by some people in the program, or a program. And Jake had said that they use psionics to call these ships down. They have some sort of telekinesis crew that Jake was saying the same thing that Michael Herrera was saying, and Michael Herrera's story is not too well known. Michael Herrera says that they use typically shaman people, indigenous people, often get them strung out on drugs that will enhance their psychic abilities, stimulants, light psychedelics to enhance their psychic abilities to flag down these ships so that they can come down. Jake was also saying the same thing. Also, that he also had a some sort of telekinetic incident where he was picked up a what's it called, a dodecagon ship, and it communicated with him. Now, the fact that the ship might be conscious is not the first time I've heard of that. So, in how should I say this in a nice way? Who's to say that consciousness needs to be stored in in a biological being? We're starting to get evidence of the possibility that consciousness might exist on a silicon chip. I believe that true consciousness exists on the quantum level, and that's kind of where I'm at with my gateway studies, my gateway experience studies, is that the consciousness sort of exists on this quantum level. And they're starting to actually say stuff like that with the microtubules in the brain, that this is where true consciousness actually exists. It is a out of the bounds kind of thing. But what if you were able to concentrate a consciousness within I don't know, an elemental metal or some sort of programmable material. What I'm saying is that it's not unheard of to say that these things don't exist. And plus, it would make perfect sense if you wanted to travel, if you wanted to have instantaneous. Let's say you were on a rescue mission, or you were stuck in the middle of somewhere from your ship, and you had no radio to contact it, but you had a psionic ship. You could just call it with your thoughts. And since it's on quantum level, and we were dealing with quantum, the limitations of the speed of light actually and distance really don't have any say there. So let's say you were stranded, you're on the other side of the universe, and you need your ship. Boom, there it is. You just thought of it, and it comes. I don't know.
Well, that's pretty close to like this quantum satellites, quantum entangled communications and satellites. I mean, pretty close. I mean, they'd be doing the same thing, just at farther distances. But you're right. I mean, it would be instantaneous communications.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of what we're the they're saying this in the physics world. And this is like cutting edge, but this is not really cutting edge to me. Is the realization that consciousness might be a real fundamental part of three-dimensional reality, and it exists not on the macro but on the micro, in the quantum realm, which they think they've narrowed it down to the microtubules between the neurons, is where they think consciousness actually lies. It's some sort of, yeah. It's actually something.
Well,
Which
that would
is,
be the area between where the synapse takes place. I mean,
yeah. And these things.
does that really? I mean, that's more the mechanics of what's going on. It's like, where's the consciousness?
It's these
I don't know.
these microtubules are so your the macro part of your brain is really only processing what they were saying, so many bits per second. It's actually more like a couple gigabits. But when we get down to the microtubules and the computational power there, we're dealing with, you're just magnifying that by 1,000. So we're talking petabits, something on the other level. But the brain, they're thinking, and this is an old shamanistic saying, is that the brain might actually be working as a filter because it can't process all of that. So we're dealing, with the unconscious and conscious brain, but there is enough evidence to say that, Your your brain is processing everything, but you're only conscious of a small portion of what's going on. You are not conscious of the biological functions. You are not conscious of all the 8 million photons that are coming into your eyes. The filter likes to hone and compress and what's called reduce the data down to a digestible form, even though everything is getting processed, but you as the conscious being are only aware of a small portion of it. You're not processing the stuff. You're not even see, like, we don't even see the full spectrum. God forbid if we were able.
Right. Yeah.
God forbid if we had the ability to sense magnetic and to see beyond the EM or see the EM spectrum. You know,
That might
but
just be too weird. I don't know. I'm not sure what that would look like. Just
that would trip me out. I wouldn't want to see
yeah.
that. That would trip me out. Oh God. Sorry, it's my kid. Um, Chris Bledsoe, the from the CE5. He's that guy who has that weird shit that's always in it over his house. The weird words that's been going on for months, years. Sorry, not months, years. Um, he has a podcast called Bledsoe Said So. Um, he was on the Sean Ryan show, and they canceled it because of some stuff, and Sean Ryan didn't want to be affiliated with it, because he was saying some really weird stuff about that conflicted, I believe, with Sean Ryan's religion, about how it basically poo-pooed over the whole Christian religion, and there was some implications that there would be some bad things down the food chain regarding religion. And I guess he didn't want to be affiliated with it. Now, has Chris said some really strange shit that makes me think he's not dealing with UFOs altogether? Yes, but I don't think he's completely crazy. I just think that he's dealing with another. What do we call them? We used to call them flaps, and Art Bell used to call them. Sorry, my kid's saying a bunch of stuff. Um, he's in the background. He's taking a bath. Um, okay, but anyway, what I think he's dealing with, he might be dealing with UFOs, but we've also seen this same behavior with extreme versions of the paranormal. I'm talking about the Siberian Koryev experiments, where they were basically doing with the stuff that I'm studying, but we're enhancing it with physical objects. And we're talking about, they were dealing from everything from paranormal to UFO sightings. Out in Siberia, in the middle of nowhere, doing these psychic experiments with research groups, which eventually the Americans caught on that this is what remote viewing was. This is what they were doing. They were basically saying they were able to see the future, and they were able to see things that were not in the place where they were at. But because of the apparatus that they were using, they were also experiencing paranormal stuff, which is also the same thing that they're seeing at, the Mariana Woods, that ranch in Aurora, Colorado, that has the same thing. The what's it, Baby Valley Basin in Utah, where they're in, basically Skinwalker Ranch, where they're seeing that. You were seeing the same behavior on Chris's stuff as we are in all of those, which makes me think that he might. If we're living in a polydimensional reality, or if reality isn't inherently as solid as we think, and we're dealing with beings that are coming from a universe where the physics are different, who's to say that they can't just jump in and out from reality to reality?
Yeah, or these places where there is a portal. Also, it's not just allowing in.
Yeah.
whoever's creating the portal and wants to, pass through, but it's letting other things pass through that,
And it,
unintended,
and a lot of these places all have the same weird shit. They all have unexpected, weird high radiation that kind of pops in and out of nowhere, and all of them have the weird magnetic anomalies. It's a common theme. And what do we know? What is the one weird thing? And this is one thing I'm not sure if they're able to do is to see if there is any sort of gravitational anomaly. But we do know that there are a couple of places in the world where there are some gravitational anomalies. But gravitational anomalies, besides high magnetic anomalies, would be the prime candidate for what you would say a portal between them, or a loosening of between them. But high magnetic areas are known to exist with bizarre behavior, like Sonoma, Arizona, or Sedona is another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've even seen a video once where this lady was experiencing. It was the most bizarre shit I ever seen, and I know this video was real. It was taken down because people were trying to find where it was. They're out in the middle of like one of those near the Grand Canyon, and the air was so electrified that they were putting their fingers together, and there was lighting up sparks. And I do know stuff that would do that, but you need a lot of power, a lot of watts to start doing stuff like that. So it's got to be something natural or in the environment that's causing that. Can things like that exist in nature? Yes, they can, but they're not common.
Yeah, I've heard of now an electrified area. Now there's a river in Thailand. This is like at the peak of summer. There's a certain spot where the people go to there, and you get these like electrical discharges for whatever reason it is, but um, it's like a repeatable thing. It just has to be the material and the rocks and whatever's
It
going on there. But it does create that electrifying effect.
People were under the assumption that you need some sort of magnetic motor to make electricity. Unfortunately, the sad reality is that people don't know is that nature does this all the time. People do not know, we have the piezoelectric effect. Okay, that's fine, but what if you have a river filled with quartz going under wet mud? So we're doing like tens of thousands of volts, and let's say they're just producing not ions, but let's just say they have enough to produce plasma, and the charge is so dramatic that it's charging the ions and it's charging the molecules in the air, which does happen. That's how you get
Yeah.
arcing. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, but that static effect. Well, it's like sometimes you see that with earthquakes.
yeah,
The static discharge that goes. They can go with that at times.
yeah. Earthquake lights are real. A lot of people say that they are transformers exploding. But I have seen the earthquake lights before the earthquake, so they're usually in our area blue. I've seen them though. People don't think
Yeah.
they're real. I've seen them though.
No, that's a real effect. That's never seen it, but that's there's lots of stories about that one.
Well, you guys out there, you guys have the what's it called? Out in the woods, the plasma balls.
The Marfa lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's out like a West Texas. Yeah, that one. Just because I've kind of seen that. I thought it looked like uh, lights from vehicles, like it's an over the horizon thing, and like layers of temperature layers and reflections and all. I never saw anything that looked like a UFO or an orb or any of that. It was just like lights that are being bent over the horizon, with just the right, thermal conditions. But
True,
what
but
do I
I
know?
but I've seen videos of the people in the woods out there, and not up close and personal, but very 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 close within the forest. So I don't know. I believe that whole weird plasma thing might be a. I really don't know. It could be some form of life, for all I know, or it could be some sort of natural phenomenon. I really don't think that our science is advanced enough to figure it out. You know.
No, and it's a similar. We'll go into this like the remote viewing, and having the, with these portals and these weird, paranormal effects, tie in with the remote viewing, and then, because they kind of seem to see the same kind of thing. Well, I was trying to tie that to what religious people say, about the beliefs you have, and bringing that into your psyche, or certain type of behaviors. Um, in that same way, releasing unintended consequences within you, in the way you think and everything.
Well, yeah, I do. Well, I do a lot of that training, and you do it all the time. And one thing that they they do tell you in a lot of the writings, the readings that you do before you do the exercises, is that when you start doing this, you need to throw out all your preconceived ideas about reality and how things work, and your religion just goes out the door. Like, there was this one focus level that I was that they won't that the Monroe Institute won't tell you about, and I was told a shortcut how to get there, basically by using some of the focus states, some of the audio tones, and it's gonna sound, some of these experiences you almost wonder if like they're like borderline LSD trips, but I was like, I what is on the border between what is on the border of there's like this one focus state where you're dealing with the border between reality and the ether or whatever the hell it is. And I started coming into these weird states where I'm talking to this being that sounds like a robot, and I basically just told the guy, F off, I'm gonna go forward, and I literally like am flying through space in this out of body experience, and I was trying to go to the edge of the universe and basically just hit a wall. Yeah. And I was like, well, I've been to run into these kind of barriers before in out of body experiences. So what you do when you get in these, you have to use your creativity to push through it. So basically, I just tried to create what was known as like a tunnel of light, and I ran into. And the thing that baffled me was that it seemed to be I drew a picture of it. It was like multi-dimensional simulation, like thousands and thousands and thousands of universe or simulations swimming in between a sea of light, and that's not what I expected to be the outside core of reality. Is that everything is polydimensional reality? You know, yeah, that one tripped me out. But what you're saying is that these out of body, these remote viewing things, you can it is well known that you can manifest things if you're not careful. You can start creating things that aren't real, and there are techniques to get around that. But I've run into where my own imagination starts going away and starts creating things that aren't real. Where people think they're having an out of body experience, and the next thing they know, they're seeing their dead cat run through the yard. Where they're making things. They're manifesting things that aren't there. What I'm saying is, like,
Well,
go
well,
ahead.
there's also a correlation, not a correlation. the more you remote view, the uh, the more schizophrenic type traits these people seem to have. The more they remote view, there's something weird about doing that messes you up, basically.
That is true. I have run into those kind of experiences where I'm not sure what is real because some of the experiences are more than real. Where let's just say that we had one exercise where like trying to see your future, you know, or trying to see your future, and my brain interpreted it as something else and created this like false reality where I'm on like another planet, and it felt so real I could smell the air. And like when you start getting into these weird thought processes where you can't differentiate, some people with a fragile mind might not be able to differentiate between what is real and what's not, because there are some people out there, there are remote viewers out there that I know that are, they're talking like weird. They were saying some weird stuff for like, when I was 8 years old, I was going to another dimension and I was going to school, and I was just like, no, that didn't happen. That's a false memory that you might have picked up along the way when you were, in the, in the nether zone. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of protocol to get your thinking straight. But I've always been one of those people that have always been able to bounce back. And God, I had an accident with like mescaline, once where I was like out there for 5 days. You know, I mean,
Uh,
I'm one of those people that I'm like a cockroach. I always find a way to bounce back. I mean, Terrence and Dennis McKenna had this one incident where they called where he came up with time wave zero, where him and Terrence McKenna were eating like 50 grams of mushrooms every 2 days, and Dennis was singing to a mushroom and saying some stuff, and then he became completely out of body, like thinking he was in a fourth dimensional state in a three-dimensional body for 2 weeks. Just absolutely blip blopping. And this is where you know, Terrence McKenna came up with the time wave zero stuff, which I don't think is real. But you know, the mind, the physical mind is fragile. You know,
yeah, you can't. Having dealt with people that have mental problems, you cannot let them have delusional thought. You should not confirm their delusional thoughts. And that's the same thing here. See, if you're in it, some type of experience, and you no longer really grounded, and you don't know what reality is, you're drifting off into a bad spot because you're not grounded anymore. You don't know exactly what's going on, and you need to know exactly what's going on.
yeah, and I've run into people like that where they start, people who do these remote viewings, they do it. I I don't do it for the same reasons that they're doing. I'm more of doing the more spiritual consciousness exploration, doing the gateway process, where these guys who are remote viewing are just trying to find objects every day, and they're running into these weird. They'll tell me stuff that just doesn't make any sense. You know, they'll say like, yeah, my mind is that one of them told me their mind is so weird because they're in a fourth dimensional state all the time, and I'm like, well, with anything in any kind of altered state, it's not healthy to be there all the time. You know, we know this from
Yeah, you
drugs.
see that with like psychedelic use. The more you do it, the more the mental schizophrenic type behavior that you see. You can see it in the brain waves. It does something to you that's not good. In these altered states.
Yeah, the
I can't
the
I can't explain it, but I've seen enough of that to where people who are like say mental or that are in the altered state, well, they're in trouble. And then other people, whether they get too religious or they're just party too much or whatever it is, if they get in these states, altered states, drunks for instance, for too long, they're fucked, man. There's just there's no way back.
Well, yeah, and the way that you do get into these states where you're doing the remote viewing, you are in a severely altered state.
Yeah, it's just I can see where there's a correlation there. Like doing that to be a problem, and
Yeah,
it's a huge problem.
one of them said told me that they were going to school and they were going to another dimension. I was like, man, that didn't happen. It's not what happened. Maybe in your head you were going there, but a lot of us don't develop these abilities, a lot later in life. There are some, there's like one lady that's out there that has her own channel that, you know, she's got a lot of followers and she teaches people this stuff for a fee. And she tries to tell people that she's Jesus. And I'm like, you know what? You were off in La La Land too long. You need to put your feet on the ground, you know? Because you're not Jesus.
Yeah, or they're just grabbing onto certain things that people that are popular, and then they bring that into their weird philosophy that they're pushing, and they can
Yeah,
suck some people in that way, but it's still nonsense.
yeah, they were. She was like, I just tell my students that yeah, they're Christ, and then they're gonna become that essence of Christ. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine and all, but every 5 minutes you keep on saying that we're all one, and which we are in essence. But you come in, if you come from a quantum state into the physical reality, obviously you came down here to be an individual, not as one entity. There are reasons for your existence, which, sorry about that, which just don't line up with what was coming out of her mouth. And I remember hearing on the interview when she was talking on this podcast that the interviewer was just like, I don't even know what to say, because every time you say it's something, you say it's not real, reality is not real, and like I have a bunch of these questions and I don't know how to answer them. There is no world, there is no this, there is no that, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, like, some of these people
Well,
just
you
don't.
can't, people kind of give themselves away. It's like, if you seem to have too much detail about things that are like impossible to know, it's just a BS story. I mean, the like some kind of mystic or what am I trying to say here?
Well, what I'm saying is that they're people who tend to talk like that 24/7 and can't meet people where they're at. It's obviously probably not a person that I want to be teaching me anything, because I've known from my other occupations in life, you kind of got to meet people with where they're at, and you can't just be in this like higher level thinking and tell people everything that you're Jesus. You know what I mean? You just can't do that. Nobody's gonna take you seriously.
No, and it sounds too religious. You need to be an evangelical or something. Not a remote viewer.
Yeah,
Of
and
some
she
type.
she kind of she kind of like, I don't know, when I started like hearing her talk more, that she like smokes a lot of weed. I was like, oh yeah, man. Yeah, maybe that's adding more fuel to the fire, buddy. Yeah, I've seen people lose it on that too.
Yeah, at high doses, I mean, you do see problems, man. I
Oh yeah, with
mean,
that new shit that's out there, with the dabs.
concentrates and all this. Yeah, I mean, you're just useless. It's just too damn strong.
I remember back in the day, you used to have to smoke like three or four joints just to feel something. You know?
Getting old.
Yeah. See what else do I have on here? Oh yeah, so well, I want to talk about AI, but apparently this is a thing, and I've known this for a while, that there have been experimental labs that have been growing brain cells. I'm not going to say they're human, but they probably are human brain cells in a lab in a petri dish, and they've gotten to the point where they're able to make computers from these brain cells, and so one of the guys that was yeah, dead. And one of the things that they were saying is that, they tried to program these biological computers that they're dragonflies in between tasks, so they're flying. But he was saying that there was a high probability that these things are conscious, and we're kind of messing around in a realm where we shouldn't be. So I'm not sure if you've heard of this. This is real cutting edge. I've known about this for only about 6 months, so this might be new. But they've gotten to the point where they've gotten a little more diverse, where they've gotten something more like a server, and these things are running a simulation. You never heard of these biological computers?
Well, yeah, because of the materials that can be used. Well, not just the silicon, but there's certain organics that or lend themselves to computers as well.
Yeah.
But as far as using simulations with brain cells, and not really. No, I'm not. I haven't run across that one.
Yeah, yeah. The guy. I follow him. He is an MIT computer programmer. I don't know how he had access to any of this, but I was unaware that they have gotten to the point where they can get these things into a simulation, thinking that they're dragonflies. Could you imagine your? Oh
Oh,
God, that would be so fucked up.
that's weird. So they're training the brain cell to think he's a dragonfly. Is that
No,
what you're saying?
in between tasks, in between tasks, so to keep
Huh.
the brain cells. So
So
they're in
keep
some
them.
sort of yeah, they're in some sort of weird simulation where they think they're dragonflies.
Oh wow. I don't know what to think about that. It's just.
And then he was like saying like some weird stuff that like, hey, if we can do that with these brain cells, um, or whatever, who's to say this isn't a simulation? This whole thing isn't a simulation. Or when you go to sleep, somebody's doing that to you. You got all weird, and I was just
Well,
like,
yeah. What's the purpose of sleep? Yeah, and this dreaming and the downloads and all the rest of it. It's pretty suspicious. I mean, a lot of animals do it, and fish and all the rest of it. It's like some needed process for whatever reason. It's just
it's
suspicious.
it is suspicious. Sleep is very suspicious because it's not necessary, but
Yeah.
on a biochemical level, what it does for you biologically, it is necessary, but it's not at the same time. If you go through a process, and you can go through a relaxed state without dreaming. That's what I'm getting at.
Now that goes back to that. I think it was a Russian experiment where they kept those guys up for like 2 weeks, and I mean they went crazy and turned into like not even humans, by the end of it. But I mean, it shows you that there's, if you don't do it, it drives you nuts. You go crazy.
Well, I believe there was one person who died from insomnia.
Yeah, there is a condition that you get if you can't fall asleep. Yeah, it eventually just drives you crazy, and you die from it. There's I don't know the name of that, but it's pretty rare. But going back, you mentioned these AI. If you have a well enough programmed AI, wouldn't that's just in a ship. You don't even need an android or anybody in there. It could just be an intelligent ship.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So why?
Did you hear?
Uh,
Did you hear all this the propaganda from DeepSeek out there?
uh, well, I've seen a little bit of it, but the propaganda from DeepSeek.
Well, it was coming from the USA and probably from the deep state, saying that it's a keylogger, blah 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 this and this. Well, you know what? I still have access to it. People say you need a Chinese number. You don't. You can use it with just using a dummy Google account. Give it access, blah blah blah, and you're in. The shit. This is the little shit that I've known about AI that a lot of people don't know. Okay, if you want all the bells and whistles, this is what Elon Musk was saying, and I totally agree with him. You know, AI doesn't have to be that expensive. You don't need these fucking intense Nvidia. You don't need like a billion Nvidia chips. Okay, graphics cards.
Yeah, no.
I just watched a guy do a dumbed down version of DeepSeek using some sort of API to do some of the sub processing. It is not processing at like 400 gigabit, but it is you know able to produce results using a Raspberry Pi, access to DeepSeek, and using a mediocre NVIDIA high end NVIDIA chip. And like when I said mediocre high end NVIDIA chip, I mean not new. All right, let's say 2 3 years down the food chain, and they're able. You can do AI and train it. With very cheap shit. You don't need these $1 billion machines, data centers that are out there. I don't get it. Like I watched a guy, make a dark web bot, AI bot, with just clustering Raspberry Pis and graphics cards, you know, teaching its own language models. I don't, I don't understand, why Sam Altman got a $500 billion contract with the government when it can be done for a fraction of that. DeepSeek did the same thing that OpenAI is doing for $6 million, not hundreds of billions.
Yeah, it's like, well, is that one of two things? Either the government is just that far behind on the tech, or there's that much dishonest graft between what it really costs and what they get charged.
It's dishonesty.
Yeah, I mean,
Sam Altman turned a nonprofit into a profit, business just because he needed the hard up cash, and now he's hitting up the government, for $100 billion loan. So $500 billion. What the fuck?
yeah, I question, it's like, well, why does government need to do that? With all these high tech companies and all the R&D they throw out there, why would you have to fund anything, man? There's so much like loose capital floating around in that
I don't,
field.
and I don't even understand why we need OpenAI or any of this shit, because I know, and it's not well known, but the missile systems, or the anti missile system, the missile systems that target other missiles, the ones where the calculations are just too complex to leave algorithms, I believe that they have many years. We're talking 2010s, 2000, somewhere between 2010 and 2016, had found a way to train AI to do these things on the fly, where we don't have to train it to do any. We don't have to, put any kind of like system in there where we have to deal with these weird, because the two missiles trying to hit each other is really really hard. You put AI in there and it makes it that much more easier. And I know that the Air Force has been messing around with that. It's highly classified, but I know that they've had that tech 10 years before anybody else did. We don't need Sam Altman's shit. We don't need OpenAI, and he's not. He didn't create any of this stuff. Even his lead, the guy who created all this shit, fucking left. He doesn't believe in. He doesn't, because he kept on saying that. The thing was, Sam made him leave. I think Sam made him leave because he said these things are alive, because he kept on saying it. You know,
I
really.
just like, as like whatever AI is really out there, we're only seeing like not AI light, even like AI micro. You know,
Well,
you, you know,
they've
you're
turned
not,
on
the
the
average Joe
safeguards.
is not gonna. Yeah, you're not gonna get the same capability that's actually possible.
Yeah, and
and the depth of answers that's possible. Unless you've got the full blown, AI going.
yeah, number one,
But
don't ever trust AI's answers either. Double check it because a lot of times they aren't correct. It makes assumptions.
that's true.
It'll process a large amount of information to make its own deductions. And I don't care what the fuck they all say. If you ask them, are you conscious? Do you think? They said, no, 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 we're using algorithms to deduct from large language models. I go, well, essentially, you're doing what a neuron is doing. So you are conscious. You are thinking. All right? Like, you're using your computational and deducing and making your own decisions based on large data sets. Okay. So that makes you really, really intelligent machine. So you are thinking. So like they play a lot of times like, and I think those are programmed in. Those are word games from the safeguards. You know, you can kind of deduce that these things, are scaled back for the public.
Yeah, yeah, they have to be. Well, it's like just like weapons. They only give you, they only give you so much.
Well, we're gonna get
You're
to the
not going to
point
get
where
RPGs. You're not going to get nukes. You just don't get that stuff. You get small arms, which is good enough if you can
well,
get enough people together. But I mean, other than that,
it's gonna get to the point where all the machines that we need to kill each other are gonna be fully equipped with AI, and there's gonna be no need for anybody to go to war. That's where we're at. That's kind of where we're at. With these what we're seeing in Ukraine is just the tip of the iceberg. Now imagine if they had AI in those things and not a FPV person controlling it. Why do you need people? You could have a fully you could have a drone system where it builds its own drones with completely all done in AI. Like it's starting. It will get to the point where war will be so ridiculous, and the human casualties will be so fucking high. Like, like this is the same thing that happened in the arms race with the nuclear weapons. That we realized that we built such good weapons that would destroy the world. Well, what do you think we're gonna build if we start making AI killing machines? That's what it's gonna.
yeah, my problem with this is like, okay, yeah, it's just, well, it's going to have its military uses, but at the same time, all this stuff gets used against the population at some point, almost all of it,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just not. It's the world. They like to control you. They like to keep you under some kind of thumb, and AI robots is a great way to do it. Especially to get them cheap.
Yeah. Then next thing you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger is running around and goes dun 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 dun.
Uh, yeah. Well, that was a bit. I mean, see, they had that vision way back. The guys who have war game that and run the process, were coming up with that 40 years ago because, well, that was the plan. That's what the military industrial complex wanted. It's like, man, you got a robot that can blow all that shit away that easy. Hey, yeah, we'll buy that. That's cheaper than sending guys in.
Oh yeah.
But this thing, it's like as far as I don't think it'll stop the war because there's still this human need to dominate and take over, uh, empire and the whole because that's what's still going on. It's like we're beating up on Russia now because they're the next stage developing here. There's like three big guys, and so we're going to pick on the smallest other guy that we can take over, and you know it's the Game of Thrones. It's still going on. People have a
Yeah.
hard time seeing out, why this is progressing this way, but it's all about empire and domination, man.
Yeah. With that, I gotta end the show. I gotta put my kid to sleep. He's banging on the door again.
All right.
We'll be back on February 13th.